For our entire adult lives, we are just surrounded by this constant hum that tells us losing weight is the ultimate goal.
Well, absolutely. It is everywhere.
Right. It is equated with discipline and progress and just, taking control of your health.
We spend decades trying to take up less physical space.
We really do. So, like, when we look at the older people in our lives, our parents or loved ones, and they drop a few pounds, our first instinct is to celebrate.
Yes, we just assume they are thriving. We think, oh, they must be eating better.
Yeah, you just want to say, wow, you look fantastic. What is your secret? But I wanted to really dig into this today because I realized we need to completely rethink that instinct.
We really do. It is a huge blind spot for most families.
Because it turns out losing weight without trying in our later years, it is not a victory. It is actually this quiet, crucial warning sign.
And the quietness of it is exactly what makes it so hard to catch.
Yeah, it's not like there's a big announcement.
No, not at all. There is rarely a sudden health crisis or a loud alarm bell. It presents itself in these tiny, ordinary moments.
Like what kind of moments?
Well, a belt that gets tightened by one extra notch, or a favorite heavy winter coat that suddenly looks like it is, hanging off their shoulders,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
or a wedding ring spinning freely on a finger. Families quietly welcome this, assuming it is a positive change. And because of that, this underlying shift can go entirely unnoticed for months.
As adult children, we just see the weight loss and say, hey, good job, entirely missing the real issue.
Exactly. We wait until there is a fall or a major illness to ask questions about their health. But the body is already giving us clues.
Okay, let's unpack what is actually happening in the body, because I think a lot of people just assume, well, maybe dad's metabolism finally kicked into high gear.
Which is such a common thought, but it is actually the biggest myth of all.
Right, because biologically, that makes no sense.
Not at all. Aging brings natural body changes that should fundamentally make losing weight harder, not easier. Harder? Wait, let me make sure I understand that. Why harder?
It comes down to a few major shifts in how the body handles energy. The first involves the signals in our gut.
The hunger signals.
Precisely. There are natural signals that tell your brain it is time to eat. It is what gives you that deep, rumbling drive to seek out food when you are young.
Like when you could just eat a whole pizza.
Right. But as we age, the stomach's ability to send those signals naturally fades. The messaging gets sluggish. So older adults simply don't experience that aggressive, clear drive of hunger as often.
So the alarm bell for hunger is just ringing at a much lower volume.
Yes, exactly. At the same time, we naturally lose muscle mass as we age.
And muscle burns a lot of energy just existing, right?
It does. It is
Yeah.
very active tissue. So if an older adult is losing muscle, their baseline need for calories should be dropping.
So they need less food to run the body. Right. You are losing the very tissue that burns the most calories. A slower metabolism driven by less muscle, combined with less hunger, should stabilize weight. Or even cause a slight increase, because the body requires so little energy to run.
Oh, I see. So to use an analogy, it is kind of like swapping out a massive truck engine for a tiny, highly efficient hybrid engine.
I like that, yes.
You need a whole lot less fuel to run the hybrid. So if the car's fuel gauge is still dropping rapidly, despite having that smaller engine, you don't assume the car just became magically efficient.
No, you would assume there is a leak in the gas tank.
Right. You look for the leak. If the scale is dropping quickly on its own, it is not a super metabolism at work.
It means something is severely disrupting either how much fuel is making it into the tank or how well the engine is actually using that fuel.
So where is the leak? Like if my mom is still eating her normal meals, what is actually causing the weight to vanish?
Well, there are these hidden drivers,
Mm.
and it is usually a compounding effect.
Meaning several things happening at once.
Exactly. Let's look at the sensory changes first. We think of eating as this simple physical act, but it is a highly complex sensory experience.
Right, the smell, the taste.
Yes. Over time, the receptors in our nose, which handle our sense of smell, and the taste buds on our tongue naturally lose their sharpness.
And a smell is so tied to flavor. If you can't smell it, food just tastes kind of flat, like cardboard.
It really does. Think about a rich, deeply satisfying roast dinner. To an aging palate with faded senses, that same meal might taste entirely muted or just forgettable.
So eating shifts from being this deeply pleasurable thing to just being a chore.
Yes, the joy fades. And when food stops being enjoyable, portions naturally shrink. No one makes a conscious decision to diet. They just lose interest halfway through the plate.
That completely flips how we look at it. We are praising them for having the discipline to eat less, but in reality, their sensory world is just fading.
It is a very quiet loss.
But what about the people who do finish their plates? You mentioned earlier that the issue could be how the body uses the fuel.
This is where gut changes become so critical. Even if a senior is eating a perfectly normal-looking plate of food, the internal processing has completely shifted.
Oh, so?
Well, as we age, the stomach naturally produces less digestive acid. The gut becomes physically less efficient at breaking down complex proteins and pulling out the vital nutrients.
So even though the plate looks identical to the naked eye, the body isn't getting what it needs.
Precisely. They are eating, but on a cellular level, they are practically starved for nutrients.
Oh, wow. It is invisible.
It is entirely invisible. And then, you layer on the physical changes. Early brain changes can affect the simple coordination of chewing and swallowing.
So the actual mechanics of eating just require more effort.
Yes. And it is rarely just one of these things happening alone. It is a domino effect.
Right, like a chain reaction.
Exactly. It might be mild dental pain that makes chewing a piece of chicken feel tedious, and older folks often don't want to complain about it.
Because age is so often seen as a weakness, and they want to stay independent.
Right, so they just quietly avoid the chicken.
Yeah.
And then maybe that gets paired with a new blood pressure pill that happens to cause dry mouth, making swallowing difficult.
Oh, dry mouth makes eating bread or crackers impossible.
It really does. Combine that with a slight dulling of taste, and suddenly they're pushing the plate away after 3 bites.
And each of those factors alone might not move the scale.
But together, over several months, they create a massive energy deficit.
This makes me think of a story I heard about a woman, let's call her Sarah. She was 68, a retired teacher, and she was famous in her family for hosting these massive Sunday brunches.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. But over about 8 months, her favorite jeans started getting really loose. And because of that cultural blind spot we talked about, she actually joked with her friends that she was finally getting her figure back.
It is so common to hear that exact joke.
Right. But when her daughter visited, she noticed Sarah was quietly pushing away full plates of her own cooking.
And because the daughter paid attention to the behavior, rather than just the weight loss, they caught the real issue.
Exactly. When the daughter gently asked her about it, Sarah admitted that food just didn't taste the same lately, and she felt uncomfortably full after only a few bites.
Which points right back to those natural body changes.
Yeah, her stomach was literally emptying slower, making her feel full for hours. They adjusted how she seasoned her food to wake up her taste buds, and she switched to smaller, more frequent meals.
And it worked.
It fixed the problem entirely. But to Sarah's friends, the brunch routine looked identical. The sensory experience for Sarah was what had changed.
And that invisibility is exactly why we cannot rely on our naked eye to spot this. We cannot just wait until someone looks too thin.
Because by then, it is a crisis.
Yes. If we are relying on our eyes, we are already too late. We need a more objective way to look at it.
So, how do we catch this before it becomes an emergency? What is the tipping point?
Well, when we look closely at health as we age, a key warning sign is losing just 5% of body weight within 6 to 12 months, without even trying.
5%. If we do the math on that, for a 160-pound person, 5% is only 8 pounds.
Just 8 pounds.
8 pounds over an entire year. I mean, that is less than a pound a month. Anyone could easily dismiss that.
Which is why slow, steady weight loss is actually far more dangerous than we realize. It is incredibly easy to miss.
But dropping 8 pounds of muscle and bone density over a year, that has to severely weaken their immunity and their balance.
It fundamentally compromises their resilience. If they get a common cold, it hits them much harder.
There is this widespread myth, though, that losing weight is just a natural, expected part of getting older.
That is completely false. Healthy aging alters your body shape. You might exchange some muscle for softer tissue, but a significant steady drop on the scale always has a hidden driver.
And people assume this only happens to folks who are already bedridden or frail.
Also false. This process almost always begins in people who appear strong, active, and perfectly healthy.
Okay, so if we can't trust our eyes, how do we actually track this? I feel like trying to watch everything they eat would just feel annoying for them.
It would. Nobody wants to be micromanaged. We can group the warning signs into 3 gentle areas of observation. Let's call the first one the physical environment.
The physical environment. Okay, taking the emotion out of it.
Exactly. This means setting a visible monthly calendar reminder for a weight check. Not daily Daily changes will drive you crazy and tell you nothing.
Right, water weight fluctuates too much.
But one consistent monthly check on the same scale reveals the real trend. It also includes noticing clothing and jewelry fit.
Like the loose watch strap.
Yes, a belt pulled tighter or that spinning wedding ring will often alert you to a shift long before the scale does.
Okay, the second area I think about is the plate itself. We shouldn't be counting their calories, but we should quietly notice what gets left behind.
Exactly. Keep a non-judgmental mental log. Notice portion completion. Serving a beautifully balanced plate, but consistently finding a third of it left behind is a major clue.
And texture too,
A
right?
texture is huge.
Mm.
Are they suddenly avoiding foods that require a lot of chewing, like steak or raw vegetables?
Yeah.
Are they leaving behind the more softly flavored foods?
Because if a dish they loved for 20 years is suddenly unappealing, that points directly to a change in taste or chewing comfort.
Yes, it is not just a sudden change in preference. It is a physical barrier.
And the third area is behavior and mood. This is where we look at their energy around meals. Are they unusually exhausted before they even sit down to eat?
Fatigue is a huge factor. If someone isn't sleeping well, which is so common after 50, they're simply too tired to prepare a full meal.
And mood matters too, right? Mood and appetite are deeply connected in the body.
Very deeply. A quiet decline in emotional well-being often mirrors a decline in food intake. Loneliness is a massive part of this.
Eating alone changes everything. The silence makes eating feel like a chore instead of a break in the day.
It really does.
Mm.
And that behavioral area is also where we need to review their physical routines, like medications.
Oh, yes. So many common prescriptions list dry mouth or reduced appetite as a side effect.
And often, the person taking the pill is the last one to connect the dots between their new medication and their shrinking appetite.
Which brings to mind another story. Think about a man named Michael. He is 74, a retired mechanic, and very fiercely independent.
So he probably doesn't complain much.
Never complains. But his son David lived a few states away and came home for a holiday visit. David noticed the physical environment first. His dad looked visibly smaller in his familiar canvas work jacket.
And when David brought it up, Michael just brushed it off.
He did. He said he was just, eating lighter. But David watched the behavioral shifts. He noticed Michael had an unsteady grip on his coffee mug.
The little things.
Yeah. And during a meal, Michael casually mentioned that swallowing felt different lately. It felt like food was getting stuck.
Those tiny, seemingly unrelated details. The loose jacket, the slight tremor in the hand, the casual comment about swallowing.
Because David was acting as a calm, observant second pair of eyes, he encouraged his father to mention the swallowing issue to the doctor.
And it wasn't just him getting older, I assume.
No. It turned out to be a combination of a medication side effect causing severe dry mouth and some early, very treatable throat changes.
That is wonderful that they caught it.
Yeah, they adjusted his prescription, gave him some strategies for softer foods, and meals became enjoyable for Michael again.
It really just takes someone paying gentle attention.
Okay, so let's say we've done the observation, we've noticed the spinning ring, we've talked to the doctor and ruled out any major illness. The goal is to help them gain some weight back or at least stop the loss.
Yes.
So how do we practically add nourishment back without, making mealtime feel like a clinical chore? Because just telling an older adult to eat more is incredibly frustrating for them if they physically have no appetite.
It is frustrating and it is counterproductive. The strategy here is not about increasing the volume of food.
Okay, so we don't just pile more food on the plate.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. That is overwhelming. It is about maximizing the biological value of every single bite. We need nutrient-dense additions that are tailored for a digestive system that operates differently than it used to.
So foods that are really easy to absorb.
Yes, meaning the body doesn't have to work hard to pull out the nutrients.
Which makes perfect sense based on what we discussed about the gut slowing down. So what does that look like on the daily plate?
Greek yogurt is a phenomenal example. Because it is pre-fermented, the proteins are partially broken down.
Oh, so the gut doesn't have to work as hard.
Exactly. It requires almost zero digestive tax to absorb those proteins, which are crucial for maintaining that muscle mass we talked about. Plus, it is soft, easy to swallow, and great for bone health.
And you don't need to eat a massive bowl of it to get the benefits. What about eggs?
Eggs are essential because they provide incredibly high-quality protein, but more importantly, they support brain health.
And again, they are soft and easy to manipulate mechanically.
We are bypassing the effort of chewing tough foods, and we are bypassing the weakened digestive acids.
Avocados seem to fit perfectly into this framework, too. They offer a lot of healthy calories in a very small physical volume, plus potassium for heart health.
Yes, nut butters, soft-cooked vegetables, fatty fish like salmon, which provides joint comfort without the tough fibers of a steak.
Mm,
It is all about high yield for low effort.
right. But adding these foods is only half the battle. We also have to eliminate the everyday habits that quietly ruin senior nutrition.
The silent saboteurs.
Yes, like drinking a large glass of water right before sitting down to dinner. We do this without thinking, but in an older body, that full stomach sends a false fullness signal to the brain before the actual nourishment even arrives.
Or trying to force a traditional schedule of 3 massive meals.
Oh, right. When the stomach is emptying slower, trying to eat a heavy dinner is physically overwhelming.
Shifting to 5 smaller, nutrient-dense mini meals throughout the day is infinitely more manageable for an aging gut.
Another massive saboteur is eating plain, unseasoned food out of habit.
Yes, this is a big one.
If the sense of smell is dulling, serving plain steamed chicken is a recipe for skipped meals. Think about a woman named Jennifer. She is 61, and she started using a mental log of her meals.
What did she find?
She noticed she was only finishing dishes that had robust, familiar spices, things like garlic, cumin, or strong herbs. The plain food was consistently left half-eaten.
She needed that intense flavor profile to break through the sensory dulling.
Exactly. Just paying attention solved the mystery. She didn't need to force herself to eat. She just needed to radically increase the seasoning to wake up her taste buds.
And we cannot ignore the social saboteurs.
Right, the loneliness factor.
Eating alone or eating in front of a distracting television significantly reduces intake. The social pleasure of a meal, the conversation, the pacing, directly and positively affects how much nourishment we take in.
We really shouldn't underestimate that.
Pleasure in eating is not a luxury as we age. It is a biological necessity. It is the mechanism that keeps us engaged with our own survival.
That is such a powerful reframing. Pleasure as a biological necessity. If you are listening to this and you have spent your whole life equating a shrinking body with success, this requires a massive mental pivot.
It really does.
Losing weight without trying after 60 is not a sudden burst of youthful metabolism. It is a quiet call for awareness. It is your body or your loved one's body asking for a little extra help with the intake, the absorption, or the mechanics of energy.
It forces us to reconsider what taking up space really means in our later years.
How do you mean?
Well, we spend our youth trying to shrink, trying to be as physically unobtrusive as possible. But what if true health in the senior years isn't about taking up less physical space?
Right.
What if it is about sustaining our capacity for joy, for connection, and for literal physical resilience?
We really have to unlearn a lifetime of diet culture to truly protect the people we love. We have to stop seeing a dropping scale as an automatic victory.
And start recognizing it as the smoke alarm it actually is.
A quiet smoke alarm that requires our immediate, gentle attention, not our applause. So this week, I encourage you to look at your own routines or the daily routines of your aging parents or friends with entirely fresh eyes.
Look beyond the cultural conditioning.
Pay attention to the spinning rings, the changing tastes, the half-eaten plates. Approach those observations with curiosity and a lot more compassion. Because understanding the WHY behind these quiet signs is how we keep the people we care about vibrant, resilient, and deeply nourished.
These thoughts, these questions, they don't have to stop here. Wellness Geek Seniors has many more podcasts and videos just like this one. Subscribe to the channel and explore other episodes. They all flow the same gentle way. If this podcast felt genuinely useful to you, share it with even one person in your life. That one share can bring a real change in someone's life. And it helps Wellness Geek Seniors reach more people who truly need this. If this brought you real value, look for the Join button right next to the Wellness Geek Seniors logo below this video. Click it and become a member of the Wellness Support Circle. Your support helps honest health awareness reach thousands who are silently struggling. Wellness Geek Seniors moves forward because of you. Thank you so much from the heart for being here.